Welcome back to the deep dive. Whenever you kick off a big project, maybe the toughest part isn't even doing the work. It's just getting the basic structure right, setting that foundation.
Absolutely. It's fundamental.
So today we're really digging into that core question. When you start a project, who actually gets to decide on the main phases, the big life cycle steps? We're pulling insights from a really solid source on this, Project Management for Project Managers by Orlando Casabone.
And it's crucial for you listening because getting these phases right, well, it can mean the difference between smooth sailing and just chaos. These phases aren't just lines on a chart. They dictate how you use resources, how you track progress, and maybe most importantly, how the project connects back to your organization's rules and expectations. Governance, basically.
Okay, all right. So let's brainstorm some possibilities. The most obvious one may be the client, the person paying for it all. I mean, they define what they want at the end, so doesn't it make sense they define the steps to get there? Is it the client?
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? It feels intuitive.
Yeah.
But the answer is generally no. The client absolutely defines the what, the requirements, the final deliverables. That's their domain. But the phases themselves, that's more about the how. The internal workflow, the sign-offs needed, the quality checks along the way. That stuff demands knowing the organization's internal procedures, its control standards, its specific ways of working, things the client likely doesn't know or, frankly, need to know.
Right. Okay. So it's internal know-how. If it's not the client, then what about the folks doing the actual, heavy lifting, the project team? Surely they should get a say in structuring the work they have to do.
Well, their input is definitely vital. Super important, actually, for planning the details within each phase,
Yeah.
estimating time, sequencing tasks, all that. But defining the overall structure, those big transition points where maybe you need senior approval or funding to move forward, that tends to be a higher level decision. It's more about organizational control than day-to-day task management.
Okay. So we've ruled out the client and the project team. What about the money side? We briefly touched on maybe the CFO, the chief financial officer. Could it be them?
Generally, no. Not unless it's a project specifically about finance, like an audit or something. Their focus is usually pinned on the budget, the financial health, hitting those financial milestones, not really the operational flow or structure of how the work gets done.
Right. Okay. So this is where it gets interesting. If it's not the client, not the team, not the main finance person, the book points pretty clearly towards the project manager's direct manager. Why them? Isn't structuring the project kind of the PM's main job?
That's a really good point, and it highlights a key distinction. The project manager absolutely manages within the defined structure. They run the show day to day. But the direct manager, they provide that crucial layer of oversight. Think of them as connecting the specific project to the wider organization. They're the ones who really understand, or should understand, the company's required decision points, what we often call decision gates. These are the mandatory reviews, the checkpoints demanded by the company's governance structure before you move to the next big chunk of work or investment.
I see. So the manager has that authority because they bridge the gap. They link the company's standard procedures, its methodologies, its governance rules to the actual project on the ground. It's less about just scheduling and more about control, risk management, and standardization across the organization.
Exactly that. The manager's role here is to ensure the phases aren't just logical for the project team, but that they also fit the company's way of operating, that they're compliant, strategically aligned, and give senior management the control points they need before committing more resources.
Makes sense. It's about embedding the project within the organization's framework. So here's something for you to think about. Given that project phases really reflect your own organization's internal governance, if your current project structure was set up purely by the team doing the work, where might it be, well, out of sync with your company's broader strategic aims or control needs?
Yeah, that's a great question to ponder. And if you want to explore this connection between planning, alignment, and efficiency further, we definitely recommend checking out the source we discussed today, Project Management for Project Managers by Orlando Casabone.